need. Give me what I want that speed.
2 qualifying races have been put in the books, and today and this evening we're getting ready to set the grid for our 3rd and 4th qualifying races here today on the NESRN, as we welcome you to night number 2 of the 2026 running of the NR2003 Great American Big One qualifying races, as we're here at the Daytona International Speedway getting ready to set the 10 drivers representing the Southeast region here for the Great American Big One in just a couple of days here on the NESRN. The Great American Big One main event, I should say. It was announced yesterday that we're in fact going to be having 3 races for all the drivers involved. The opening race will be the C main. It's probably just going to be a 15-lap basher race at Talladega, where there's going to be no damage. There's going to be drivers just driving around as crazy as they can. That'll be the C main for the bottom couple of drivers. The drivers that finish outside of the top 20, they will all partake in that. And then for the B main, it'll be a 40-lap race at Talladega that will feature damage, but will also feature a little bit of craziness as well, potentially. And of course, the A main, the 94 laps around the Talladega Superspeedway, will decide the Great American Big One. So all the festivities taking place on this upcoming Saturday night here on the NESRN. That decision gives these drivers a chance to showcase their talent here, despite even if they did not make it in the qualifying race. First one out on track that we're focusing on, that's the number 9 machine of Kyle Monaco. 2 Monaco brothers on the grid here today. Got the 86 of Connor Monaco will also be out on track. Right in front of Kyle, however, it's going to be the 77 of Josh Harmon, making his first start since last year's FMGTC season, if memory serves me right. Audrey McPherson out on track as well. And no surprise to see Connor Monaco, first one out on the pylon. Jamar Raymond also putting down a lap time that last time by in the draw tight, number 91. Looking through the field, here's Alex Lozano in the U.S. Coast Guard Ford Fusion, rocketing around the 65 Nesquik machine. That's going to be Aiden Bigelow. And that 65 car, 47 of Roderick Grimes in that Hulu machine. Right behind him, you've got Chayeli Noseda, I should say. Chevrolet Monte Carlo for waste management on the hood. Joe Lanza in the 62 Exide Batteries Monte Carlo behind those drivers. We already talked about Harmon and McPherson. And here's a very special paint scheme, which we have talked about a lot here in 2026. Of course, first time on track we've seen that M&M's 18 car here at Daytona in quite some time. Of course, first time we've seen that car being piloted here on the NESRN is Connor Monaco, top of the charts in the 86, but Reggie Fogelman will drive Kyle Busch's number 18 M&M's Toyota Camry with Ryan Durrani right behind him in tow. Those two side by side, Durrani in the 68 machine, inverting his traditional 86 car. That Connor Monaco currently has on the secondary pole position as Josh Harmon goes to the top of the charts. Here's Jim Jackson in the Amazon number 48 machine. Right behind him, you got the 95 of Stephen Strange in another special paint scheme here in the Southeast qualifier. That is Wyatt Walker in the Greg Biffle National Guard number 16 machine. Zachary Fitzwater currently second in the MBCS standings. Right now out in front in that Craft 89 Saturn Astra, with Russell Blaze moving to his inside. Fitzwater back in the traditional 89 car. 60 machine of Horace Swanson. They got 3 wide through here. A whole gaggle of cars, a whole quartet, 3 of them side by side. On the outside of the 71 of Sarah Taylor. On the inside is the 56 of Vinny Scholes, and he'll figure out the 3 wide going through the tri-oval. But you got Henry Eisenbrow in the 87 of Braden Manesco, rounding out the back end of that quartet. There's Connor Monaco, currently 3rd on the board. Josh Harmon, top of the charts, along with the 96 of Brad Stover. Speak of the devil, there's the former driver of the 98 GT Daytona car for the Flemaster Grand Touring Championship, making his first start on the channel since 2024. Right behind them, Aiden Gonzalez in the 88 of Tim Simmons. Simmons in that Bass Pro Shops Charger, rocketing around that Kodak Camaro on the outside lane. 3 wide back through here. We talked about Alex Lozano in the 65 of Aiden Bigelow. And here's the number 66 Belle Delphine machine of Felix Kusarainen. So Kusarainen in the 66 car. Finished driver. Driving that Audi up through the grid. We'll have to see where Kusarainen will try and run here at Daytona earlier on. Talked about Joe Lanza earlier on. Josh Harmon still top of the charts. It's all 27 cars have put down a lap time. Roger Grimes in the 47. Jamar Raymond in the 91. Here's Gio Garnett in the 84 in front of Audrey McPherson in the 33. And I believe that should just about do it for all 27 cars. Back down on track is the 9 machine of Kyle Monaco. Same down the pit lane is Chalina Seda. But this version of Daytona has always been very, I don't want to say problematic, but it has been very interesting to drive here at the World Center of Racing. There's a couple of drivers coming back down the pit lane with 9 minutes to go here in practice/qualifying. This field in particular definitely has a lot more foreign manufacturers than you would think. You know, first time we're seeing a Saturn. We saw Mercedes on track. We're seeing a couple other drivers, I believe. I'm trying to see what Kusarainen's driving an Audi. Never know what you're going to get here with the ICR mod and these different manufacturers. You got a Volvo being driven by the 47 of Roger Grimes. Trying to see what the 48 of Jim Jackson is driving real quick. He is driving the Mercedes, so he's probably got some funding from AMG Mercedes on track. Zachary Fitzwater also driving. I believe he's also driving a Saturn as well. Yeah, he is driving the Saturn. And then Chalina Noseda driving. Oh, they're driving the Monte Carlo. And other than that, you know, it's really business as usual. Of course, you've got the 2 models for Chevrolet, the Monte Carlo SS and the Camaro duking it out, but you've got don't have a whole lot of Ford Mustangs on here. I think we're mostly seeing Fusions in this southeast grid. Of course, you've got your Toyota Camrys, and you know we do have a Mustang driven by the 65 of Aiden Bigelow. So we do have a Mustang and a Fusion. So Ford bringing out both of their sedan brands. Kyle Monaco in the middle of 3 wide, and they can comfortably go 3 by 3 wide here at Daytona. We have seen that in the past. The only issue is when they go 4 wide for an extended period of time, that's when the alarm bells are going to hit for these drivers. Right now, Monaco running pretty rock steady in that 86 car. But not a whole lot of drivers have stock car experience here at the Daytona International Speedway here on the NASRN. Of course, for Vinnie Scholes, she's had some experience over on AG the channel in the Wawa Cup Series. But, you know, of all the drivers on here that have been in the NBCS ranks, of course, you got Sarah Taylor in the 71. She's had some experience. 4-season veteran. Wyatt Walker's got some experience at Daytona back in February for his first ever race in the NASRN. Same thing with Russell Blaze. Saw him somewhere back in here in the 3 machine. But, of course, Reggie Fogelman, Ryan Durrani, they've got some experience. Zachary Fitzwater, of course, he's a 6-season veteran for the NBCS, so he's got plenty of experience. There's Russell Blaze. With both Death Rider Racing teammates in this event, they are not both driving Chevrolets, however. Like we're talking about, Walker is driving a Ford, and still in the Chevrolet is Russell Blaze, however, in that Remington 3 car. You know, looking down the order of other drivers, we talked about Ryan Durrani. He's got some experience, and while it's not quite in a Cup car, Connor Monaco does have some experience here on the high banks of Daytona over the last season's the FMGTC. But we're not on the road course here at the Daytona International Speedway. We're on the big boy track with under 6 minutes to go in qualifying. Josh Harmon still top of the charts right now. Harmon, Stover, Grimes, Eisenbrow, and Scholes would be your top 5 going up through the gears here for 30 laps around Daytona. Of course, it's our first of 2 qualifying races here tonight on the NASRN. Is in a little bit here in a couple hours' time. We'll have the Northwest Qualifier at the Armory Digital Super Speedway. We'll have 28 cars battling for 10 spots then. Right now in the Southeast region, we do have quite a battle here. See who is going to be the final wildcard driver. to make the dance. So right now, in the East, Roberto Crown Jr., if memory serves me right, has the best point, or rather the best average number between his finishing position and his fastest lap time. So that is the deciding factor of those things. We'll go ahead and double check that here in just a moment before the official green flag will drop here for the Southeast qualifier. But I believe these drivers trying to beat a 9.5 average set by Roberto Crown Jr. For the only driver on the outside looking in, if they're not able to beat that average number, which is a combination of where you had your fastest lap time, where you were on the fastest lap time boards, and where you finished the race if you're finished outside the top 10. But hey, for these guys, if they finish inside the top 10, they're not going to have to worry about that. They will be locked in the main event here. But it is going to be a fun one. It's always fun here at Daytona, especially under the lights here in just a couple of moments. As Harmon back out on track right now with 39.218, good enough for the pole position in the Southeast qualifier right now. Still a little bit of time to go, 4 minutes remaining on the board. Right now, Connor Monaco in that final transfer spot, if qualified to where they were right now, rather if they advanced to where they are right now. The 10 drivers that would be advancing to the main event would be Josh Herman, Brad Stover, Roderick Grimes, Henry Eisenbrow, Vinny Scholes, Horace Swanson, Reggie Fogelman, Sarah Taylor, Braden Minesco, and Alex Lozano. It's Connor Monaco getting dropped down a couple of pegs on the score sheet. But of course, what else is there really to talk about Daytona that hasn't been talked about before? Very similar to the Coca-Cola Superspeedway in terms of how you drive this track. There isn't nearly as much banking as Coca-Cola, however, 5 degrees less banking here at Daytona compared to the 36 degrees up in Concord, Massachusetts. And it's a little bit shorter of a course as well. Of all the qualifying races and all the qualifying tracks we'll go to this week, this is the smallest course at only 2.5 miles. You know, Armory Digital is 2.4. Actually, Armory Digital might be, I could have sworn Armory Digital was about 2.8. You know, I could have swore Armory Digital had a little bit of distance on Daytona. I'm 90% sure that it does. I'm actually Googling this now because it should. I don't know why I can't think of it right now. I'm 90% certain that Armory Digital is about maybe a 2.6, maybe a 2.8 mile racetrack. I know I'm like 99% sure Armory Digital is bigger than Daytona, but overall, doesn't really matter here with the short distance here at Daytona. All that matters is just trying to survive for 30 laps, and especially at the 2007 version of the Daytona International Speedway, where it doesn't have the safer barrier all the way around, but it's got the safer barrier in the tri-oval and in the corners, and drivers tend to ride the lightning on the outside wall, and that's where we've seen a lot of our accidents really kick off. Of course, we saw the huge one at Daytona. Yeah, right off the start when Alexander Rowe back in February blew a tire on the opening couple of laps. That set the field into 2 different parts, and well, there was a big accident in the front half of the field, and unfortunately, when you got a big accident in the front half of the field and you're split into 2 packs, the second pack is going to do what they call a ARCA brake maneuver. And that pretty much just ended every notion for those drivers in the Daytona 500 back in February. Under a minute to go here in the Southeast qualifying session. We'll have about maybe 2 minutes of bonus time for ready to finish up a lap time. Roderick Grimes will move up into the 3rd position. He and Aiden Bigelow putting down some solid lap times there in the 47 and 65 respectively. And they're both in this pretty big pack right here. Of course, Josh Harmon still a 39.218. That pack racing is going to be make or break for a lot of these guys. You see in a lot of these guys up inside the top end of the field. Up in this pack, like we're talking about, Bigelow, Grimes, Harmon, Wyatt Walker also in here as well. Around the outskirts, Jim Jackson, the 48, as the checkered flag will fall here. Pack's going to get broken up here a little bit by the 91 of Jamar Raymond, but it looks like that should do it. And we will have a minute remaining of bonus time, and Horace Swanson right at the buzzer is going to take the top spot away. Same thing with Brad Stover. Josh Harmon getting booted down to third. How about that for a buzzer beater? Doesn't surprise me why. Look at this hulking pack of cars up in here. They're going to get their final lap times put in the books here. That last time by, we'll see how much that will change things. Aiden Gonzalez also up in the top 5 in that 04 machine. And Tim Simmons. And the final little bit of bonus time here. Aiden Gonzalez, will be the front row for the qualifying race here in just a little bit. That's how crazy things can get here at Daytona. Tim Simmons will sit on the pole position for the Southeast Qualifier here at the Daytona International Speedway, putting down a blistering 38.911. You got to call the fire department about that blazingly fast lap time. Aiden Gonzalez, Horace Swanson, and Brad Stover. It took until the final 45 seconds of qualifying for us to dip down into the sub-39 category. Connor Monaco also putting down just barely an above 39-second lap. And how about that for the very end? And that is going to be a telltale heart for these drivers when they take the green flag here in just a couple of moments. When that pack racing, it definitely means something. And we're going to see that right here and right now in a couple of seconds. But Tim Simmons, your pole sitter for the Southeast Qualifier here at Daytona, and we'll take you right into it here on the NASRN right now.
As, again, you longtime viewers will know at this point, I am very much an old school racing fan. You know, I like sex being safe and racing being dangerous.
Bourbon sauce. And brown sugar bacon. And Angus steak. And a top bun. This is the nastiest fuck! Barbies, we have the meat.
Son of a bitch. And we are back here at the Daytona International Speedway. It is time for the Southeast Qualifier for the 2026 NR2003 Great American Big One here at the World Center of Racing. We're going to not waste any time here. So we got 27 cars on the pit lane. We're going to go downstairs and meet all 27 of them, starting in the back with the number 91 draw-tight automobile of Jamar Raymond. He starts in 27th. Starting in 26th, the 84 Red Bull Toyota Camry of Gio Garnett. Starting in 25th, Audrey McPherson driving the Camping World number 33 automobile. Starting in 24th, Shaylee Noseda in the Waste Management number 99 Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS. Steven Strange going to start in the 23rd position on the inside lane of row number 12. The man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Zachary Fitzwater in that Saturn Astra Craft 89 car will start in 22nd with Kyle Monaco to his inside of the Dodge dealer's number 9 Charger. All the way back in the 21st position. Rounding out row number 10, you got Russell Blees in the number 3 Remington Chevrolet SS. He'll be starting in the 20th position. Alex Lozano representing the colors of the Coast Guard. And number 39 Ford Fusion will start in 19th. 18th representing T-Mobile on the 68 Dodge Charger is Ryan Durrani in the 68 Michigan. In the 87, you've got Braden Manesco starting in the 17th spot. Starting in 16th is Sarah Taylor and the Toyota dealers, number 71 Toyota Camry. You got Jim Jackson in the Amazon, number 48 machine, starting in the 15th position. Reggie Fogelman in the 18 M&M's Toyota Camry will start in 14th, with Joe Lanza to his inside in the Exide Batteries, number 62 Chevrolet, starting in the lucky 13th position. Vinny Scholes in the Circle K number 56 Dodge Charger will start in 12th, with Henry Eisenbrow to her inside in the number 08 Orbitz Volvo. rounding out the outside of the top 10. And speaking of the top 10, starting in the 10th position, Felix Kusarainen in the Belle Delphine, number 66 Audi. To their inside, you've got the number 16 of Wyatt Walker driving the Greg Biffle National Guard, number 16 Ford Fusion. They'll be starting in the 9th spot. Starting in 8th is the number 65 Nesquik Machine of Aiden Bigelow. To their inside, the number 47 Hulu Automobile of Roderick Grimes. Starting out the starting 6, Josh Harmon, who sat on the pole position for the majority of qualifying in that 5-hour Energy Bass Pro Shops Toyota Camry in the 777 machine. To their inside, rounding out the top 5 is Connor Monaco in the Papyrus Racing Games, number 86 Automobile representing Fred Jones. Brad Stover in the Aris, number 96 Toyota Camry will start in 4th. Horace Swanson to their inside, starting in the 3rd position in the Advocare number 64 Fusion. On the outside pole for the Southeast Qualifier, Aiden Gonzalez in the number 04 Kodak Max Film Chevrolet Camaro. And on the pole position for the Southeast Qualifier here at the World Center of Racing, driving the Bass Pro Shops Tracker Boats number 88 Dodge Charger, Tim Simmons. Those are the 27 cars that'll be fighting for the top 10 spots here at the Daytona International Speedway. And without further ado, it's time to turn them on and grid them up for the Southeast Qualifier here tonight at the Daytona International Speedway. Without further ado, we'll send things downstairs for the qualifying race here for the Southeast region.
Drivers, start your engine!
27 cars all firing to life here on the pit lane of the World Center of Racing, and we're ready to go live once again here for the 3rd qualifying race of the NR2003 Great American Big One here in 2026. And like we said, that number 88 Dodge Charger, one of the 6 Dodges on the grid here tonight. Tim Simmons will lead the field with green flag. Aiden Gonzalez, part of 2 drivers that right at the end of qualifying earlier on put down some of the fastest laps we have seen. Both put down sub 39 second laps, and it's a big part of the reason why they sit on the front row. They were part of that same pack along with Brad Stover and Horace Swanson. They make up row number 2. Connor Monaco and the 77 of Josh Harmon round out the starting 6 here as the field is down the back straightaway, looking more towards the back. There's Zachary Fitzwater, along with Alex Lozano, Ryan Durrani, and Russell Blaze, 4 drivers that have all had some pretty decent experience here at Daytona in the past. Neither of them have won, and more likely than not, they have all wrecked out here at Daytona rather than finish inside the top 5. In fact, the only previous winner we have here at Daytona, I don't think we have here. I think Brad Stover in the 96, I believe he may have a 2.4 hours of Daytona crown under his belt. But just like with the other qualifying races, 30 laps are on the board here at Daytona. No pit stops are going to be necessary. The only thing breaking up this race is if these drivers somehow mess up, wreck, and take each other out of the race. And we saw one heck of a wild race at Grand Junction on Tuesday night. We'll have to see if we're going to which race is going to be wild here tonight, if it's going to be Daytona or Armory Digital. We're about to find out. Pace car about to make the left-hand turn down the pit area here at the World Center of Racing. A packed house here on a Thursday night in Eastern Florida. Tim Simmons will lead the field towards the Reese's restart zone. And here we go. Up through the gearbox goes the grid. The green flag is out and away. Let's go racing for the second night of qualifying for the Great American Big One. And it didn't take long for them to nearly go 4 wide, not even a quarter of the mile into the way. They're 3x3 wide, about 3 rows deep towards the back end of the grid. Simmons leads off turn number 4. Going into turn number 4 leads Simmons. He'll still continue to lead, and there's still 3 lanes of 3 wide deep. It's 9 cars all under a blanket here inside the top 10. And that 66 car, Felix Kusarainen into the outside wall a little bit. First time here at Daytona for a lot of these drivers. And Simmons right now the Pied Piper of 3 different lines at the World Center of Racing. Here comes Connor Monaco, finished second in the FMGTC race here back in February for GT Daytona in the 2.4. And he's got a big run coming from the inside lane. He's going to drag the brake a little bit. He's going to lose a little bit of momentum. Now we're going to go 3 wide for the race lead. Horace Swanson will make it 3 abreast in the middle. Simmons will be forced up high. And that's how this outside lane here, this new version of Daytona works. That it is not your traditional cycle race. It is a lot like modern super speedway racing here in NASCAR, where it is pretty much just sheer gridlock of 3 by 3 wide. And the only thing that's really going to break things up is a crash or somebody going into the outside wall. We've seen that a couple of different times. But of course, it is still NR2003 on a super speedway. It doesn't matter how much grip you have on the outside lane. That inside line is going to be the most dominant line. You got that 47 car bobbling a little bit in and out. That's Roderick Grimes, who was a little bit indecisive on which lane he wanted to go to in the 47, but he's going to lead that Hulu Volvo off turn 4. 3 laps already in the books. A couple of cars in the outside wall. Zachary Fitzwater was pitter-pattering off the safer barrier off the corner for a brief moment as they flash 3 by 3 wide, pretty much every row deep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows at least of 3 wide. I believe we might have 9 rows of 3 wide. You wanted the best. You've got 27 of them, all 3 abreast. And we might go 4 wide. Oh, the 08 car nearly caught in the middle. This is a thing of beauty here at Daytona, and we are exactly 3 wide for all 27 cars. See the wide angle here at Daytona, just how close together these guys are running at the line. Roderick Grimes led that time, make that Connor Monaco, who led by 6 1/1000ths of a second. And I'm not entirely sure if they're going to be able to do this over the course of 30 laps. They could barely go about 10 laps back when the MBCS raced here in February. But who knows? I mean, a lot more is on the line here tonight than it was for the Smokies Best Damn Garage Daytona 500 and Eisenbrow in that 08 machine on the inside lane. Still having just a little bit of a advantage on the inside, being pushed by Joe Lanza in the 62. You want to see just how much rush hour traffic it is here tonight. You're on board with Vinny Scholes. Right smack dab in the middle of this 3 by 3 wide big pack of cars here. And this is nothing. We've seen a 3 by 3 wide when we had 42 cars on track. Here with 27, it's just a little bit of an appetizer. You can see it is literal rush hour traffic on I-95, that inside lane. You can see the cars hitting the bumps on the inside. Off the final corner. Got a couple more cars in the outside wall. No harm, no foul. It's once they hit the walls off turns 2, or going into turn 1 and on a turn number 3, that's where we start to see the trouble start to kick up here. But it's a breath of fresh air, a little bit of a change of pace to watch this 3 by 3 wide for the opening 7 laps of the race, and everybody within a handful of moments. We got Jamar Raymond. Something happened with the 91. I believe he went up into the outside wall. Here's the telltale sign. A little bit of damage on the side of that 91 car, so it'll drop the main grid down to 26 machines. And Jamar Raymond right now 21 seconds behind this lead pack. He is desperately going to need a caution to come out if he wants to get back in the race. But the way these guys are racing right now looks a little bit calm. But they are still 3 by 3 wide like we saw with Alexander Rowe. One car has an issue midway through the pack, splits things up. Drivers start to get a little more aggressive. That is when all hell typically breaks loose, when they just about go 4 wide. We could see 4 wide here. Eisenbrow lost control of the car going through 3 and 4. He went up the hill for a brief moment. Fortunately, was able to catch that Nissan. The outside lane continuing to patter off the wall a little bit as Raymond lost another 3 seconds that last time by. He is losing a lot of time, and the way these guys are running, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if Jamar Raymond ended up being a lap down car. That's going to really hurt these drivers. Again, he's already in the middle of 3 and 4. I'm not sure which lap he went into the outside wall, but he is currently 4 seconds off the pace, and these guys already gaining a ton of ground on that 91 car. We stay green. He's absolutely going to be a lap down issue and a moving chicane for these drivers at least once through this race, but this next time by, not this time by, will be a third of the way through the Southeast qualifier. Goodness gracious, I can't even begin to try and decipher who's going to end up being the transfer spot car right now. Eisenbrow right now the leader, and I believe you got to give it to the 48 of Jim Jackson, first car on the inside lane. Making the fourth car on the inside lane. It's so hard to decipher. Got 3, 6, 9. I think it would be Jim Jackson right now in the 10th position the way they run right now. It's going to be uber close. Third of the way through the Southeast qualifier in that outside lane. Continuing to hold firm. And again, that hasn't really allowed a lot of these drivers more towards the back to make their way up through the grid. Guys like Jim Jackson, like the 87 car. No, Joe Lanz is in the 62, and he's actually going for the race lead. Braden Minesco, that's who's in the 87. Had to get my spotting board up here in a brief moment. Minesco, fourth car now on the inside lane. Now we're starting to see that cycle a little bit in the outside lane, starting to go a little bit away there handling-wise. And here is Jamar Raymond. Probably the first car all tournament long that's going to end up being a lap down. But this has been a lot of fun to watch here. And again, this pack, it definitely looks like it right now. We're starting to approach that territory where it might become a ticking time bomb if these guys go 4 wide. But they are catching Jamar Raymond. Something's got to give, and I believe it's probably going to end up being this outside lane. Grimes in the 47. As they catch up to the much slower 91 car off in the tri-oval. Where is he going to go? He's going to transition. He's actually going to migrate to the middle lane. Way on the outside go the 47 and the 86 as Grimes and Connor Monaco will escape for now. But now that 91 car planted on the outside lane. He's finally going to get a little bit of a boost here, but that inside lane quickly moving around. And this is what we were talking about. We always see one car break out of line, becoming a lap down car. And that's how things change here at Daytona. That's such a tough break for Jamar Raymond. And he's going to hold up that entire outside lane. The 2 front row sitters of Horace Swanson. Actually, Horace Swanson started in third, but you got Tim Simmons back in there. He was the pole sitter. He'll migrate his way down to the inside. In fact, he did have both front row sitters with the 04 car of Aiden Gonzalez. He's going to be put all the way back to 25th after that. Make that 26th. Last car on the lead lap in the field will finally get around the 91 machine. Nothing wrong on that car. He's just very, very slow. We'll see if he'll have to catch up to the back end of this grid. But here we go. Not even 2 laps after they caught up to lap traffic. The grid has reformed. We've got a lot more newer players towards the front. You got Minesco in the 87 leading. Next time by will be halfway here at Daytona. How about this 95 machine of Brad Rather Steven Strange? Barely talked about him during qualifying. Minesco's just going to edge him out by maybe 1/1000th of a second. Audrey McPherson up in here as well. Same thing with Gio Garnett in the 84. Alex Lozano, Aiden Bigelow, Wyatt Walker, Chaley Naseda also up here in the 99. Right now, fastest lap of the race would belong to Tim Simmons. The way he runs right now in about that 19th spot. Again, the number that he has to be, the average number he has to beat is 8.5 set by Roberto Crown Jr. So the way Simmons is running right now, he would have to finish no lower than 17th. No lower than 16th, I believe, to beat out 8.5. You know, if those two we do somehow get a tiebreaker, I'll have to go ahead and figure out that there. But overall, up at the front, Gio Garnett's going to want to make it 4 wide. They've got a ledge. McPherson not really defending. They'll finally get that 33 car down low on the yellow line. We're past the halfway point in this race. Nothing but insane. Just took a lap down car getting in the way for these drivers to really begin to break out of deadlock. Raymond still 1 lap down, still falling completely off the pace. Something has got to be wrong on that 91 car. But here we go. Down to the final 13.5 laps of this race. Simmons, the way he's running right now, making Horace Swanson in the 60 car. They would have to finish no worse than 17th. At least a tie. They got to finish no worse than 16th to beat out Roberto Crown Jr. Right now, we'll focus on that when the time comes. Garnett to the inside. A big push coming from Bigelow in the 65. Wyatt Walker, Jalen Noceda, Vinny Schulz in the 56. Of course, like we're talking about, development driver for Brandon Wilmington. She knows how to race these super speedways in that 56 car, and there she is in the inside lane. Just trying to get through this deadlock here of 3 lanes of traffic. Roderick Grimes, after that whole kerfuffle with the lap down drivers, he and Connor Monaco have been booted out to the outside lane, and right now that last time by in the 10th position was Chaley Noceda. Rather, that was Jim Jackson, the 48, who was just barely in the 10th position. Right now, just eyeballing it, I would put that 9 car, Kyle Monaco, in the 10th spot. And that is the one thing that is a little bit unfortunate with using GNL TV as our official timing and scoring. Because, I mean, you know what, I guess we could use this. Yeah, I mean, it is relatively obscured, the FMGTC ticker that we've got. So I believe just to see it very much at the very end there, to see who is going to be in the 10th spot instead of waiting 10 seconds and putting everybody in limbo. I guess we could do that. Walker in the 16 machine. Still no cautions here at the Daytona International Speedway, and we did confirm during the brief siesta that we had between qualifying and the actual race that Armory Digital was, in fact, a 1/10 of a mile longer than the Daytona International Speedway. That's what we figured, but we wanted to double check to make sure, so no surprise this race is flying by like the western wind. Noceda in the Waste Management number 99 leads him to 10 laps to go. A lot bigger players up towards the front right now. Audrey McPherson would be the first car, or like the last car in. First one on the outside looking in would be the 9 of Monaco. Starting to lose a little bit of touch there. Back with Jamar Raymond. He is currently a minute behind these drivers. I don't know. They might catch that 91 car again. I got a really good feeling they're going to catch that 91 car again. He is so slow compared to these guys. Last time by, he was 102 behind them. Well, a minute and 2 seconds behind these leaders. And that's in terms of just when he took 9 laps to go, when he took 10 laps to go, I should say. So he is, once he gets to 115, that's going to be the danger zone of when they're going to catch them the next lap. Here comes Schulz to the race lead. Big push coming from Ryan Durrani. And lo and behold, Tim Simmons, the pole sitter, back in the inside lane. On board with that 88 machine. We'll have to see how much off in the distance that 91 car is. Not quite in frame just yet, but he is certainly on everybody's radar. Look back at just how close these drivers are all packed in together like a handful of sardines. 26 sardines packed together in the tuna can of the Daytona International Speedway with 8 laps to go. Still, anything can happen. Noceda looking to block both lanes in the 99. Right now blocking the middle line. Will swing up high. That'll open the door for Durrani. And look at all the Dodges starting to migrate their way towards the front. Schulz, Durrani, Simmons. 3 of how many, God knows how many Dodges we've got on the grid here. And Raymond, meanwhile, just entering the back straightaway field. Now going through turn number 1. They're gonna catch that 91 car probably with about, I'm gonna gauge 3 to go. And it's going to be a mad scramble for those last 3 laps. They'll probably catch him going into turn number 3, I would gauge, with 3 to go. You know what? I'm going to amend that. I'm going to say 4 to go. They're going to catch that 91 car with 4 to go because we go on board with Noceda. There is the 91. He's already in the viewpoint. They might catch him this next time by. Because we've got 6 laps to go here at Daytona. Right now, Josh Harmon, the 77, Last car in the dance. Simmons back to the front. And once these guys know that, hey, we're going to be within the final 5.5 laps here, they are going to start to get aggressive. And when do we start to see them go 3 wide? Or 4 wide, I should say. They've been 3 wide literally the entirety of the race. Simmons thinking about letting Brad Stover poke his way in there, and they're already going to catch that 91 car with 5 to go. They didn't even waste any time catching up. 5, count 'em, 5 laps to go here in the southeast qualifier. And Jamar Raymond, who has been a moving chicane for this entire race, is once again going to be put in the crossfire of these faster lead lap cars. He's going to hold up the middle lane. Simmons will scoot on by. Brad Stover in the whole inside lane will say thank you very much. They're going to get the free pass. And that completely is going to take out a lot of those guys on the outside lane. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of time left for them to make the A-main. Ryan Durrani getting hosed, but he might remain inside the top 5 here. Question is, with 4 to go, how quickly do they get reorganized? And like we saw earlier on, those who shot out in front of this lead pack did not get, or once they got reorganized, they got shuffled more towards the back end of the grid. Harmon in the 77, Simmons in the 88. Simmons is going to remain on the high lane. Here comes Harmon in that 77 car. How about that 66 of Felix Kusarainen in that Belle Delphine Audi? Wouldn't that be something for the Belle Delphine 66 machine to end up in victory lane here in Florida? That would be the most Florida thing in the world. 3 laps to go. Horace Swanson also back in it. Same thing with Henry Eisenbrow. Haven't talked about Reggie Fogelman at all tonight in the 18. And like we saw at the beginning, a lot newer players towards the front. Joe Lanza, Zachary Fitzwater, Alex Lozano, Russell Blaze. Last time by, Vinny Scholes, the last one on the inside here for the A-main. Meanwhile, there's 2 drivers that started at the front end of the grid, back at the front end of the grid. Here comes Kusarainen on the inside lane. Simmons throwing the block for now. Gonzalez trying to help a little bit on the outside lane. Sticks high in the air, 2 laps to go. We are past the point of no return, so if a caution flag were to come out now, that would be the end of the race. Swanson heavily bucking there on the inside lane. Eisenbrow also trying to get there. That is the battle for the race win right now. And meanwhile, this battle for the final transfer spot into the A-main between Reggie Fogelman, Russell Blaze, and Joe Lanza right now. 66 is going to swing to the outside lane. Simmons trying to finish where he started this race after an absolute hair-raiser of a qualifying lap to put him on the pole position. White flag in the air one more time around the Daytona International Speedway. Tim Simmons looking to win his qualifying race. But it is so close back in here for the final transfer spot into the Great American Big One main race. Swanson now to the inside in the 60. They still have the fastest lap of the race. They want to get that win as well. Eisenbrow pushing the 60. Simmons on the outside lane. Here comes that third lane building up. Swanson's going to have carte blanche of which lane they're going to want to go to, and that's likely going to be it for the win. Off turn 4, one final charge on the outside lane coming for Simmons. It's not going to matter. Horace Swanson will win the Southeast Qualifier here at Daytona, and the final spot in is going to go to Vinny Scholes in the 65. By 2/100ths of a second over the 71 of Sarah Taylor. Nickel for every time Sarah Taylor has been edged here at Daytona. I'd have 2 nickels, but it's weird that it's happened twice. Horace Swanson, Tim Simmons, Joe Lanza, Henry Eisenbrow, Felix Kusarainen, Zachary Fitzwater, Josh Harmon, Alex Lozano, Aiden Gonzalez. And actually, it's going to be Russell Blaze. What happened to Vinny Scholes? You know what? I was looking at the fastest lap. So Russell Blaze is actually going to be the last one in. It did not matter. It was still Sarah Taylor that got edged out at the line, but Russell Blaze will end up the final car in the A-main. And how about that for that 60 machine of Horace Swanson? We'll have to see who had the fast lap. It was still Swanson, Simmons, Steven Strange to the 95. He did not make it in. Neither did Ryan Durrani, as those two both got relatively held up. In fact, Steven Strange, he finished in 26, so he is not going to beat 8.5. See, Ryan Durrani, he finished in the... where did Durrani finish? There's that 68 car. He finished in 18th. Plus 2, 20, 10. No, it's not going to help him. Josh Harmon made it in. Brad Stover. Did Stover make it in? Stover just on the outside looking in. This could be close. 12 plus 7. 19. Oh, I believe that just going to be a little bit off. That is 9.5. And actually, see where Vinnie Scholes, she got 10th. The 10th fastest lap, and she ended up finishing in 21st, so that's not going to help her. I believe nobody in the Southeast is going to beat 9.5 or 8.5, which Roberto Crown Jr. set. So I believe with that running, we'll get the official... Well, we'll have an official graphic on screen if that is the case, but I believe Roberto Crown Jr. will be the first wild card driver in here for the NR2003 Great American Big One in the A main. And he's going to be one of two drivers who'll be racing in multiple races on Saturday night. But Horace Swanson edged out Tim Simmons by 38 one-thousandths of a second, and everybody in this race, besides Jamar Raymond, finished within 0.7 of a second of each other at the line. That is how close it is here at Daytona, especially with a caution-free 30-lap race. But Horace Swanson, Tim Simmons, Joe Lanza, Henry Eisenbrow, Felix Kusarainen, Zachary Fitzwater, Josh Harmon, Alex Lozano, Aiden Gonzalez, and Russell Blaze will be the 10 cars transfer into the main event A main at the Talladega Superspeedway this upcoming Saturday night. Sarah Taylor, Brad Stover, Wyatt Walker, Jim Jackson, Reggie Fogelman, Chaley Nocedo, Ryan Durrani, Breda Minesco, and Aiden Bigelow will race in the B main. Vinnie Scholes, Connor Monaco, Gio Garnett, Kyle Monaco, Roger Grimes, Steven Strange, and Jamar Raymond will race in the quasi-demolition derby for the C main. For Saturday night's triple header here at the Talladega Superspeedway. It's going to be plenty of fun. You can catch that right here on the NASRM. But congratulations to Horace Swanson, the top 10 cars, for locking themselves into the main event here for the Great American Big One. And that will do it for the Southeast qualifying session here tonight at the Daytona International Speedway. 3 qualifying races have been put here in the books. We'll go ahead and send things down west side to the Pacific Northwest of the Armory Digital Superspeedway here in just a little bit for the Northwest Qualifier for the final set of qualifying races here on the NASRN for the 2026 running of the NR2003 Great American Big One here on your home for the Big One for 2026, the North American Sim Racing Network. But that's all I've got for now. Coming up here in just a few hours' time, the 4th and final qualifying session from the Armory Digital Superspeedway here on the NASRN.